Today's the entire series, actually we're going to have one every Friday. This is brought to you by InHarmony in association with Tweet Foundation. Tweet Foundation was started by Abhina and a group of transgender people, both trans men and women, for the welfare, employment and empowerment of the transgender community. So InHarmony was started by me 6 years back, and we are a very lean but very not mean, very nice people. Shireen Popat, Shireen is here. You can see her.
Hi.
So Shireen assists me in training to business development, client servicing, the entire. She's a youth support for the organization, and we work with a lot of other consultants depending on the kind of projects that come our way. Now, what kind of projects do we do? We work in two areas: diversity and inclusion, where we look at gender, disability, generational culture, and what else we could do in building an inclusive culture in organizations. And the other pillar that we work in, and both of us are passionate about, is employee well-being, where we look at providing psychological counseling services. And we conduct a lot of short module well-being sessions under the same umbrella. Both of us are trained counselors, and I'm also a coach. So we bring in a lot of these aspects in all the kind of initiatives that we do. These are some of the clients whom we have done some, with whom we have done some very interesting, exciting projects over the last few years. And has Abhina joined, Shireen?
Yes, Abhina's with us.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm now going to introduce you to Abhina Aher. She is a founding, I'm so sorry. Yeah, she's the founding member of Tweet Foundation. And then I'm going to read, I have to read because there is so much to talk about her. I met her, I think maybe 4 years back at Kashish Film Festival. It was a very memorable festival for me, my very first in the LGBT film festival space, and I met her there. And since then, we have built a wonderful relationship, and today, and she calls me a family member of the community. So Abhina has been working in the social sector for the last 24 years. She's a transgender activist. She's currently the Associate Director, Gender, Sexuality and Rights with the India HIV/AIDS Alliance since 2010. She handles various projects, including USAID linkages projects in Maharashtra and Andhra Pradesh as part of her current responsibility, and has been part of some of the major key community projects such as Avahan, funded by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and Pehchan, funded by the Global Fund. She's also providing technical support to WHO, NACO, and USAID on the key population issues by representing on various technical resource groups and representing India in various international meetings. In the past, she has worked with Humsafar Trust, which is the oldest LGBTI organization in India, Family Health International, and Johns Hopkins University Center for Communication Program. Globally, she has worked as a consultant on HIV/AIDS with Global Action for Trans Equality, was former chairperson of Asia Pacific Transgender Network, starring committee member of International Trans Fund, community advocate with the Global Fund Advocate Network Asia Pacific, and starring committee member of high-level meeting on HIV/AIDS. Abhina is also the founding member of Dancing Queens, which is India's first transgender-led dance group. Before Abhina takes over, just a few ground rules. I would request all of you to please put your audio on mute. There will be a few opportunities where Abhina will want to interact with you, will want your responses. At those points, you could type in your responses in the chat box. Otherwise, let's keep on mute because we have many of us and there could be audio disturbances if all of us have audio on all the time. So here's to wonderful learning, and I really hope you find this session very useful. Over to you, Abhina.
Thank you, Anupama. Hi, my name is Abhina here. And today I'm your host to walk you through all the discussions that we are going to have. We're going to quickly rush through a discussion. So so what we are going to do is that we're going to have much more interactive sessions as much as possible. There are some content that we would like to see it across, but there are so many other things also that we want to help you through. I'm just going to quickly try to share my screen to you guys. So I just wanted to have
Abhina, just a second. Just want to
confirming.
check. Is the audio, is she audible for everyone?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
great.
Anupam.
Yeah, please carry on, Abhina.
Great. Thank you. I hope I'm audible to everybody. In case if you get stuck somewhere, then I'm gonna please indicate them to Shireen and Anupama. They are going to. So Shireen is gonna keep track on the questions that we get or any other things that we are gonna do, and she's also going to help us with the timekeeping. So I'm going to start right now. I think today's webinar is all about transit. Again, this is this is an initiative that we have started, especially to bridge the gap between two worlds. The one world is basically about the transgender community, and the other world is all about the people who doesn't know about transgender community. And we thought it
I think, Abhina, you're not audible.
Is it
We
happening?
can.
Okay.
Yes. You may want to maximize your screen, Abhina.
I'm gonna do that right
Yes,
now. Yes,
thank
I've done this. Is it
Okay.
better?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so basically, again, as I mentioned to you, this is basically an exercise where we're trying to have a dialogue. This is not something about educating somebody or something like that. This is our story, this is our world, and this is an opportunity for all of us to talk to each other. So I have a couple of slides that I just wanted to go through, but before I could just play a slide, I wanted to quickly, I think Anupama has already talked about Tweet Foundation at length. Specifically, but these are the certain activities that we do at the Tweet Foundation. I also saw another board member of Tweet Foundation, Urmi Jadhav, who's also there right now on a call. So she can also help me out later about this. But these are the major activities that we do across. Before we start this discussion, I just wanted to play a quick kind of maybe a brainstorming kind of a thing, which I'm going to show certain things to you. And what you guys can do is that you don't have to tell it to anybody, but just think in your mind what is the first, you have to classify these activities based on a responsibility of man and a woman. Okay. So when you look at this particular picture, you have to imagine how do you associate that picture with? Would you associate that picture with a man, or would you associate that picture with a woman? Okay, we are ready. Okay, I'm gonna start with this. So you can have a look at the picture, and you don't have to tell it to anybody, but just keep yourself thinking about what is the whether you picturize a woman or a man in this picture. Let's look at another picture. Second picture, maybe somebody who's driving a plane or flying a flight or something like that. How do you see whether it is a man or a woman that comes to your mind? I'm gonna show the third picture. Again, this is a baby picture. You can think about that, which is the gender that comes to your mind. You can also type it down into the chat box if you feel like it, expressing about which person that you think about when you talk about this other picture that we have now. This is another picture that you see it across about the agricultural products, and you can imagine like which is the picture, what is the gender that comes to your mind. Again, this is another picture which is a picture of a CEO of organization, and then you can also think about whether you would relate that picture with a man or a woman. This is a cameraman. So this is like a shooting picture where somebody is shooting a film or something like that, and which is the gender that I would associate this particular picture with. This is a panty picture. So, immediately you can connect that with some particular gender in your head and you can understand. This is a picture of a marriage, which all genders that could come to your mind in your mind when it comes to. There's a picture of a makeup, and you can still think about which is the gender that you can keep thinking about those things. I'm doing this exercise for a particular reason, and you will come to know at the end. This is kitchen again. You see it across a kitchen, a beautiful kitchen, well organized kitchen, and you can associate that with any of the gender that you can see. Then you can see a truck at this point of time, and then you can imagine which is the gender that you would like to associate this particular picture with. And this is the last picture of dancing with ghungroos, in the leg. And as you can see, in our mind also works in a particular way where we would associate these pictures with particular gender. So like if I have to say the picture of a vaccine for the first time, and if I could say that which is the first gender that come to your mind is probably a woman, we would make a judgment on a woman if a woman is not waxed every 15 days. The family would have in questions about it. She would feel uncomfortable about it. Her husband would feel uncomfortable about that. Like pilot, there are a lot of women pilot at this point of time which are there flying the flights. You could see that when you are traveling also. But when you naturally see so when you naturally see a plane, so each of these picture, for baby care you can see about the woman, for agriculture you can my thing that comes to your mind first is that the man, because it's a more manly job, it requires a lot of strength, it requires a lot of work. CEO of the organization, a lot of, I would think that okay, majority of man could rule it because people will not be able to listen to a woman and all those kind of prejudice. So for each gender we would have a prejudice. What if a man decides to wax his chest or his body, or would like to keep it? Now we are talking about metrosexual ages, but I'm talking about the time when you would have really opinionated things. When you talk about the marriage also, we would always think about the marriage between man and a woman. The moment it deviates, we would have challenge to our thoughts. Today we are going to discuss much more beyond these genders, and we are going to see that is how this gender plays a lot of important role in our life. When we talk about a difference between sex, sexuality, genders, I have two pictures right now for you. On the left hand side, what you see, a transparent man picture, a transparent person's pictures, where you see a differentiation between very clear cut demarcations about gender, sexuality, sexual orientations, and sexual behavior. What you're born with is basically your sex. So you could be either born as a female, male, or intersex. I will talk about the intersex further in this discussion, but these are the three possibilities that a baby could born with. So either you can be writing as an F, M, and society tells us that is like, for example, if you are born with the female, then you are supposed to become a woman. If you are born with the male, then you are supposed to become a man, and so on and so forth. So what you see between your two legs is basically your sex. That's how the determination of sex happens at the age of when you are born. But how you perceive your life over the period of time, as you go further, as you decide your sexual orientation, that forms your sexual identities or your sexual preferences, that how you associate with that. And those identity could be the queer identities, like lesbian, where two women are in love with each other, two men are loving each other. Straight, where you are attracted towards an opposite sex and you are considering yourself as sexual. Bisexual, you are getting attracted towards both the sexes. Asexual, you are not getting attracted towards anybody. Or queer, where you don't want to fit into any of the sexual orientations, and you would just like to be part of the larger society. Now, sexual behavior is something that you see is that what you have sex with, like for example, which kind of sexual activity that you are indulging with. That is the kind of thing that you are talking about. Now, gender is something that happens inside your mind. So when I was first born and I was at the age of 6 and 7, the first thing that appeared to my body is that I was born in the wrong word, where the entire society was trying to tell me that I am a man, and I was trying to tell myself, no, I'm not a man, I'm a woman, I'm trapped in a wrong body. At the same time, when you talk about the other right side of the picture, where you see a lot of other things which has been mentioned about that, at the society we live in a binary world where we can identify ourselves as a man or a woman. But at the same time, when you talk about gender expression, we can actually identify ourselves as a feminine or masculine, or in whatever way we act across that. But what I'm trying to say is that sex is something which you are born with. Sexuality is what you actually would like to perceive for a sexual orientations, and gender is your expression, how you would like to exhibit yourself in a society. And sexual behavior is something that is, where you are trying to perceive yourself. I don't know why there are strikes happening in my presentation, because I have not done that. I don't know where is it coming from. Shirin, can you check why these
No.
lines are coming in the
Yes,
presentation?
Abhina. No, it has nothing to do with your presentation.
On the other hand, the next slide that I'm going to talk about it, that when you talk about the gender, in various countries there are much more genders. Hello.
Yes,
In
Abhina,
various
we can
countries
hear
there are
you.
so many. Yeah, there are some lines which are coming in my presentation
Yes.
which is not there. I don't know where is it
It,
coming
it's
from.
it's because of the app. It's through Zoom. It has nothing to do with your presentation. And please go carry on, Abhina.
Okay, somebody is saying you can rub it off, but it's okay. You carry on, I think.
Okay, sorry. So when we talk about the gender is an expression. Now when we talk about the people like me who are the transgender people, these are the people who transition from one gender to another. Like, for example, I was born with a male sex, but right from the starting of my life always felt that I'm a woman and I should be living as a woman. And that's the reason why over the period of time I transition. Now a lot of these people transition is not associated only with not only associated with you changing your physical characteristics, but has to do much more beyond that, and we are going to talk about that in this presentation. But on the left hand side, what I'm trying to say is that transgenders don't come into just black and white, but there are a lot of other identities that are comprised globally, and at the same time at the India level also, when it comes to the transgender people. So like at the global level, we have in various countries we have something called the two spirits, who have mixed gender together. There are gender queer people and various other identities that we have crossed. But coming back to India, because I have a limited time, we have classification of transgenders on basic three categories major. One is identity based, the other one is religion based, and the third one is an expression. So identity based gender identification for transgender people is somebody called as a hijra, which means a parallel psychosocial support that you create for the people who leave their houses, especially for male to female transgenders. So what happens is that when you are bringing up as a transgender person, many times families don't accept these people and they've been left out. They've been asked to leave from their society, or a lot of children run away from their own houses, and they reach to this support system called as a hijra, which means it is a socio-ethnic culture where you have like a guru chela kind of a. Now hijra, the traditional business of hijra is with blessing, and it is not the first time. It has been happening for the for the ages, and I will talk about quickly about the relevance of that within our culture and our other practices that we are having. But the other people that if you are a male to female, if you are transitioning from male to female, just like me, some people would identify themselves as a trans woman. The other people who are going from a female sex to a man's gender would identify themselves as a trans man. There are some people who would identify themselves as a transsexual after the surgery, where they have changed their body and they have now female organs and everything, and they would consider themselves as a transsexual people. Kinnar is another identity which is a very Hindu identity within our society, and it seems apparently they said before British into our society, the transgenders that were there within country within Hindustan were considered as a Kimnara, which means neither man or woman, and it has a lot of connotations within our historical perspective also. Lot of people after the Nalsa judgment would like to identify themselves as a third gender. Now, religion-based identities are the identities that has emerged from a stream of a Devdasi Parampara. Now, in a Devdasi Parampara, the traditions that has come forward is that if you go to the Maharashtra side, you will see something called as Jokti, who's married to, to the god. At the same time, you go to the south, you have Aravani, Mangalmukhi, Siva Sakti, Jogappa, several these identities who are associated with some or other deity. The job of them is that they cross-dress themselves as a woman, and also they are devoted. They're married to a god. They're not married to any other individual of the society, and their entire life is to worship to that particular god. But they also fall into the larger umbrella of transgender community. The right side part that you see it across, that are very expression based identities, like for example Maitsya, which is in Odisha, Lalma, which is in Gujarat. The transgender being called as a Lalma. Gender queer identity, where a lot of people who are part of the transgender
Abhina, we lost you. We can't hear you. Abhina? Am I audible?
Yes, Anupama, we can hear you. We have Abhina on the call, but we can't hear her and we can't see her either.
Okay.
Let me just
we
call.
lost you. Can't hear you.
Let me try calling Abhina, Anupama.
I've called her. Okay, sorry. And two of you, its entire space a lot better. Can we just wait for a few minutes? I'm really sorry about this, but I don't know. I think with everybody on internet, I think it just becomes, maybe these are issues which are common, because we normally do with a smaller group size. Thanks so much. Yeah, thank you for being understanding.
Abhina will join us shortly. I've just spoken to her, Anupama.
Okay, so in the meanwhile, any question, because I know she also rushed to, normally this kind of a session we do over 3 hours, because people have a lot of queries and questions on these issues. And for many of us, understanding this whole space of gender, sex, sexuality, etc. takes a lot of time. And incidentally, that is the focus of today's session. Any questions, anything that you'd like to
yes, so I'll be happy to collate the questions. Abhina's back with us, and I think I will
Wonderful.
collate any questions that come into the chat box. I can collate them and read them out after the session.
Thank you, Shirin.
Some problem with my internet. I'm back. I'm really sorry about this.
Thanks, Abhina.
Yeah, I apologize for this. I'm really sorry. Today is a bad day. Okay, so can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay, great. I'll just move forward. As I mentioned to you, that is, when we talk about the intersex people, the baby can be only born with 3 conditions, either male, female, or with the intersex conditions. Intersex conditions are 40 different conditions which are specifically related to genital deformity. They are also calling as ambiguous genitalia. Now, a lot of people think that all the transgenders who are born, or hijras who are born with the genital deformity. That's not true. Gender expressions are not only associated with the genital organs, and they are much more beyond that. Intersex is a different community altogether, and a lot of intersex people now, the other side, right side, what you see is the intersex flag. It's a complete different movement, and a lot of the intersex people don't want to consider themselves as a part of the transgender community anymore. These are the different stages that you see right now. What you see is a very dear friend of mine, Rajveer, who has transitioned from female to male, and there are various stages that are involved within these transitions. And life doesn't change overnight. It requires counseling, it requires hormone, it requires psychosocial support, it requires a lot of surgery. And that does not mean that all the transgender people would go through all these processes. There are people who would decide that I don't want to make changes to my body, so they can decide till what length they would want to go as a human being to transition themselves as a transgender person. Now, a lot of people would have this question and understanding about how many people are there actually in India when you talk about the transgender people. As per the census, there are almost 5 lakh people who are already there in transgender community. And one of the things that you must understand is that 50,000 of these transgender people are actually below the 18 years of age. So there are a lot of transgender children who are there. A lot of people doesn't understand. These individuals are there in the education system. These individuals don't have support, and they are the one who's going to be a future transgender people, and they don't have any support within the educational system also. What you see it across is that in the country who has 132 crores of population with the 60% of sexual reproductive age, the number of transgender people is much more higher. And what government has envisaged is just the tip of the iceberg. In the entire Asia Pacific, 19% of the entire world population of transgender stays in Asia Pacific region. These are some of the evidences that you see it across about the mythological stories of the transgenders. There are so many things that are there within our culture which has been mentioned, like a god of dance, Ardhanarishwara, which has a half body of a man and a woman. We touch that person's feet and we take blessings. But if you see a person with half body of a man and a woman, you will feel yucks, or you will run away from that person. So we would like to see these identities as deities. So we, in a simple word, you would like to worship a trans person, but would not like to call that trans person to your house. The other evidence is about the Brahannala, where Arjuna is going in a Gyatvas, and for almost an year he's not been traceable. He becomes a dance teacher. So at that point of time, the relevance of the transgenders who were not begging on the street, but they had a Rajashray, which means they were part of the entire Raj Gharanas. Shikhandi, if Shikhandi wouldn't have been there, for which is a transition of a woman to a man, Ambalika from to Shikhandi, if that wouldn't have been there, the Mahabharata wouldn't have finished. The same way, we have India is the only country which has a transgender temple in Maisana of Bhahucharama. Bhahucharama is a goddess of Hijras, and a lot of transgenders actually touch their feet. There are several identities that I talked to you, and these are the definitions of identities that you see it across that I was talking to you before. Now, a lot of transgenders are facing violence. These violence are different kind of violence, and right at the time of the trans person who identify themselves or herself or himself as a trans person, the violence starts. And the violence is just not about physical and sexual, but it could be emotional also. It could be verbal also. And these are the instances which makes transgender people very difficult to live in a society. Now, various stages of life for transgender people, they could have various type of pressures. Like, for example, when they are at the childhood, that person could become subject to rape. That person could become part of the bullying, anything else. And these all things happens to the transgender children. At the age of adolescence, they could face the pressure to marry, leave home, drop out from the schools. As a result of that, they will never be able to get a dignified job. At the age of adulthood, no security, die alone, no family structure, no family support. These are the different stages that one can be really particular about. Across the globe, India, everywhere, transgenders have been treated as invisibly visible. You see them, but you don't want to recognize them. Transgender killing happens as a hate crime. When I was in the 10th standard, 10 students raped me. They tried to insert a foot ruler inside my anus. And that was not for a pleasure. That was just a hate crime, that this person doesn't live to be part of a society. And a lot of transgender people could go through this kind of a problem. A lot of people survive on sex work. Almost 74% of transgender people surviving on sex work and begging in this India, because they don't have a dignified job. And that data is available across country. There's huge amount of population, almost 7.4% of people who are living with HIV, and they are dying without any support. Lot of the surgeries that are happening on transgender people are happening without medical support, because general hospitals do not serve them free of cost surgeries. There are many times psychiatrists, psychologists are not sensitive to these issues. For gender surgeries, they require the medical certificate, and many times these certificates are also not available. The literacy rate is there among the transgender people. The problem is that nobody is willing to give job. None of the HR policies are conducive to this fact. So you are talking about a community who's living in a society for a in a backward stage. We are still 60 or 70 years behind, despite of independence era. And to come that, we need to have a reservation, we need to have a special services and special support within the larger society. Lot of transgender people become subject to self-esteem, and there are so many evidences that you see it across. There's no family support for this, and there is a systematic evidence that if your family stands by you, transgender people can really become successful in their lives, and I'm a live example for that. These are the larger issues that we are right now tackling in the country about the transgender people, including shelter support, resources for their food, resources, especially in COVID-19, where transgender people are dying because of corona, because of hunger, and at the same time because of the harassment also. In Telangana, there was a case when a transgender person walked out to buy a pocket of milk, and surrounding people killed that person just to buy a pocket of milk. That's an irony of this country, and this is where we are living right now. But there is a good sigh of relief. There are a lot of transgenders who are breaking the barriers and coming to very prominent stages of life. For example, you see this trans man and a trans woman who's part of the law enforcement structure, Yashini and Lalit. Lalit from Maharashtra and Yashini is from Chennai. They have managed to work around with that. This is my very dear colleague. She's part of the corporate sector, ThoughtWorks, and she's been doing wonderful job in that regard. Kochi Metro, where they try to hire transgender people as somebody who's as a ticket collectors. I think 2019 was amazing, because this is the first time when Nartaki Nataraj, who's a transgender person, Bharatnatyam dancer, received Padma Shri, and a lot of transgenders actually married to their partners whom they really love. There are so many such beautiful stories that are there within countries. You have seen this advertised also about the Wix, where this person called as Gaurinandan Sawan is trying to build a shelter home for the children of sex workers. So there are so many things that are happening in another country, but there are many times we are aloof from these all discussions, because we really don't know what's happening within the trans world, and our understanding about the transgender community is extremely limited. We don't reach out to the transgender people. Sometimes we also feel very I feel awkward. How do I ask? Whom do I ask? Whom do I reach out to when I want to talk about the issues about the transgender community? So I'll stop here, and Anupama, I think if you have any questions particularly, you can ask, and then we can proceed further on that. I'm just a bit cautious about time as well.
Yeah. Abhina, thank you so much. And I'm sure for many of the people here in this webinar, a lot of aspects that you've covered they may be hearing this for the first time, and especially hearing from you. I'd also like to say that Abhina spoke about the fact that, when there is parental support, there is a lot that can happen, and the transgender's life can be a lot better. And for your information, Abhina has had her mom's support, and she's done her post-graduation. She's done a BA economics, and then she's done her post-graduation in social work, right, Abhina?
From
SIS.
NGO management, yes.
Yeah, NGO management from SIS, and all the other wonderful stories that you have seen. So, Abhina, first we'll start with, there are some questions which came to us when people registered, and I think because most of the other points you did cover. So, one of the very pertinent questions which arise also from what you just covered about gender-based violence, etc. Is, so people are asking, one question is, how do you work with public perception and the unsubstantiated fear that general public have towards transgender people? And with all this perception, how do you remain motivated?
Well, to be honest with you, it's not me. I mean, there are so many other trans people also at this point of time as a part of the call. And what we have been facing is that whenever there are public humiliations or there have been attempt to sort of kill our social morale, it has been disturbing. There are a lot of transgenders who become extremely suicidal. I have tried to commit suicide several times in my life, and so many other people. Some survives and some doesn't survive. But how does it impact to a trans person? Is that a trans person? So for a longest period of time, I was not been able to see myself in a mirror. You can understand, or I was, whenever I used to enter inside the room, I used to always shut down my windows and doors. This was psychological, but that was happening to me unconsciously and several other people, because you are judged the moment walk out of that room. You are judged. You're judged from head to toe about how you dress up, how do you work around with, how do you express yourself, are you fitting into a correct, so there were so many questions that happens. There was one session and where where there was a concern about that, should trans people be considered, should trans women be considered as a women? And I said, yes, I am a woman without womb and without vagina, but I am woman, and I do respect, I do want you to give the same respect that the woman deserves. But I have managed to say that, but a lot of people may not be able to be in a position to say that. As a result of that, there are a lot of mental health issues that arise within this community, and self-hatred, and that reflects into substance abuse, that reflects in suicidal attempts, that reflects into not being aspirational in life and not being able to do. So right now we've been trying to motivate so many people to educate themselves, to do a job, but a lot of people will say that nahi hamara kaam to ye taali bajana hi hai, hum usi ke sath zindagi jiyenge karke. No aspiration. That is something. How can a person will have an aspiration? Even if person, I have seen transgender people who are civil engineers begging on the street for 10 rupees.
Yeah.
And you have to work at the different level when it comes to societal stigmatization of the transgender people. It cannot be just about that. A lot of people would just casually say that, अरे आपको हाथ पैर है, आप भीख क्यों मांगते हो, जाके काम करो ना अच्छी जगह पे. I would say अपने घर पे काम दो ना उनको. जब अपने घर में खाना खाने के लिए बुलाओगे, when you will call them to at your home, and when your neighbors and when your doorman will look at you, you will realize how difficult it is to be part of these individuals, to live their life as they are living at this point of time, which is extremely difficult.
Yeah, and I remember this very well, Abhina. Like once, I think some of you had come here to put mehendi for us, and we had, I think, just as we were celebrating having an interaction with the transgender community, I think in Malad there was, I think we were celebrating an interaction with the community, and exactly at the same time, this was around Diwali time, and in Malad, in one of the shopping areas, some entire lot of people, I think hijras who had gone begging, and they were being beaten up by the shopkeepers. And I know these kind of incidents happen. Very sad that these happen, despite the fact that so much progress is also happening. Abhina, if you can quickly cover a little bit about what's the about the third. You said some people like to be identified as a third gender. So there's an ALSA judgment which came up in 2014, and then the trans bill, which is again very contentious. So can you speak, share some information on these two? You need to unmute.
Okay, so I'll quickly talk about it. So it's been like so. We've got the independence, but after that, what happened? That is pre-independence era. The Britishers has put us on a tribal act, and evacuated us from the society. Have you ever thought about that? For 300 years, India fought independence fight, but there is no evidence that transgenders were part of that fight. There has been a lot of books that has been written about it, which especially mentions that is there are a lot of transgenders who were running the sex workers points, and they were actually providing resources to all these freedom fighters, and there were a lot of things. But after independence, nobody thought about technically about transgender people. Though we are part of the LGBT community for longest period of time, we were getting penalized for homosexual activities. Like for example, section 377 was imposed on transgender. The first person, Kokila, which was convicted under section 377 was Kokila, who was raped brutally by a couple of people. and she's the one who became petitioner for the first time. We fought this battle for a longest period of time, and on 14th April, on 15th April, in 2016, we have got the NALSA judgment, which said that is Supreme Court actually said that is for a longest period of time, transgenders people have been ignored, and they've been always considered as part of homosexual community rather than giving an independence as a gendered people. And as a result of that, we would consider them as a third gender. So all the transgender people were given acknowledgement within a society as a third gender. And Supreme Court actually said to the government of India that within 6 months of period, you have to create laws for these individuals. They have to be given equal opportunities in education, employment. They have to be given reservations. There has to be stronger laws for the gender discrimination and gender violence. And at the same time, you have to bring them in a mainstream society. And to bring them in a mainstream society, what you need to do is basically you create a bigger campaigns. However, the government was not been able to understand how to cope up with that. So for the first 6 months, the government only kept asking to the Supreme Court that who are these transgender people, because government was extremely skeptical that when we say give some rights to the transgender people, it will be misused by the sexual minority like gay, lesbian, and other people. That was the issue that government was having, and they were very conscious. It has been 4 years, and that fight has been going on. We are in 2020 right now, and recently, so then there was a private bill which was introduced in Rajya Sabha by Tiruchi Siva, which was a very, very good bill. But ignoring that bill, the government said that, listen, we will bring a better bill than you, and that matter was closed there. And then government got a bill in the parliament, which was basically an intersex bill, by thinking that all the transgender people are intersex people, and that was inherited from the Australian intersex legal authority system. And they tried to put that across. We worked with the government very, very long, for longest period of time. And recently in 2019, I think 6 September 2019, government has come up with the Rights of Transgender bill. It has become an act now. Right now, what government is doing is that they are trying to create rules for this particular law. It is still waiting for signature from president. But the concerns about that bill is that it doesn't give a very strict actions against the gender-based violence. So if a woman who will face violence, a person who's doing violence on a cis woman will be penalized from 7 years to life imprisonment or custody. But if a transgender person face such kind of an issue, the maximum punishment that will be given to that person is 2 years, which is a very irrational behavior. There aren't any facilities for reservations. The bill says that the district magistrate will decide your gender. So you have to appear in front of a district magistrate and actually give an affidavit. The district magistrate will ask you all sorts of awkward questions which you have to answer, and then only the district magistrate, based on his understanding, will give you identity card of transgender. So right now communities are working very, very closely, and we are trying to give lot of inputs on the transgender specific bill. But I'm not sure whether everything will be hunky-dory. Like for example, right now we don't even have transgender welfare centers, transgender welfare boards across country, which was mentioned and which was promised, but it is not there. So there are a lot of lacunae and gaps at this point of time within legalities.
Yeah, Anupama, would you like to proceed?
Yes. Yeah. So another question which we had is with respect to, we spoke about the perception that people have about the transgender community. So a lot of people, and I'm sure all of us here, want to know that what can we do to change that perception? How do we change that perception? And how can we be inclusive? Workplaces is one space, but even in society, how can we be more inclusive? What is it that we need to do?
Yeah, I think the inclusiveness starts from the family. I would feel is that fact remains is, if you identify a child who is identified as a trans person, or the child is saying that person identified himself or herself as as a transgender person, the first thing is that show your maximum support to that person, and don't let that person run away from the house or put into difficulties. The other thing that you can do is increase your awareness on the transgender issues. Challenge your thought process, challenge your constructive perspectives about gender role, fixed gender roles, and go beyond those, and try to understand that we are dealing with a human being who has a different gender expressions, and we have to deal this person separately. So before you could accept the person who's standing in front of you, you have to accept the things which are there inside you, which is happening inside you, challenge yourself and accept. The other thing is that creating enabling environment, especially at the schools, educational systems, which is extremely important. When I was young, I had to wait for lecture to class to start so that I can go and use the washroom, because I was extremely embarrassed to go to a male washroom. So gender neutral spaces, gender neutral restrooms for people to don't feel awkward to accept that. The other thing, the biggest thing is about gender affirmation. Like, for example, people would just assume that if I'm looking like a woman, they should address me as she or her or something like that. Or if they see my voice is a little bit manly, they would try to see me as a sir, say me as a sir, which is a huge disrespect to me, because I would not like to be identifying myself as a man. So the best part about is that for the gender affirmation, you ask the person next to you, how would you want me to address you? Rather than making a presumption about that particular individual. The third thing is that if you must make an attempt to have a friendship with a trans person. They are amazing souls. They are very good friends. Anupama, we have given honorary certificate as a transgender person, but you can also get this if you become our friend. But yeah, we are amazing people. We are very intellectual people. There are a lot of transgenders who are fighting for elections. They are part of various aspects. So you can't negate our intelligence and our creativity just because our gender expression. So think beyond our gender expression and try to be part of that. The other part about is that having more inclusive spaces, giving an opportunity to these people, creating policies within those aspects for these individuals, especially when we talk about workplace inclusion that Anupama was talking about. I think we probably can talk about it later also. But I think creating HR policies which are more conducive to the transgender people, creating special quotas for transgender people, just looking around in your organizations, in your institution, and seeing, do they have inclusion for transgender people? So if they are hiring 100 people, are they hiring a one trans person? Because when you hire one trans person, it gives inspiration to 1,000 trans people to work. And believe me, it is not a magic wand that if you give everything is not going to be really working from the day one. It would take some amount of time, because that person would require some amount of time to settle down in the situation and adjust to the environment. So you be supportive to that person and be with that person, understanding the issues.
Thanks, Abhina. I think very relevant points, and I know from my experience, I can share that the first time I met somebody other than, like I said, at the Kashish Film Festival. The second time I met Abhina was at a cafe coffee day. And what really surprised me, we just met. There was no question about, she's a trans person, or it was just meeting somebody and we were talking about opportunities. And what was the most surprising thing that day for me was at the CCD, the staff who took our order, when we were leaving, she said, "Thank you, ma'am, come again." And she looked at Abhina also. I don't know whether you remember Abhina. She said, "Thank you, ma'am, hope to see you again." And it was such a touching moment, because I know that she was not trained. CCD at that point had not even considered probably hiring a transgender person, but that kind of sensitivity is what I think can make a lot of difference. Abhina, we have some little specific question now. Somebody's asked, can I legally get my sex changed on documents about SRS without SRS? And what's the youngest age for me to legally be able to get my sex changed?
So the youngest age for legally sex change is 18 years. That's what we are right now carrying at this point of time. But right now we are working with another organization called as ATI, and we are trying to provide support to the transgender who identified at the age of 15 and 16 to have a hormone access, because hormone therapy is a very important stage of the transgender person to reach towards the trans gender expression. And even if we are talking about the complete gender change surgeries which are accessible at the after the age of 18, the legalities of it, we still are working around with whether the communities can have early access to the hormone treatment. The other thing about that, whether that person can get the legal change of the document. Yes, you can get a change of the document right now. You can reach out to. We still are working around on right now the rules with the Ministry of Social Welfare. Very soon those documents will be out. There are forms which has been introduced, and what we are trying to do is that we are trying to create a committees at the district level which will helpful for transgender people to have their gender expressions. But right now, when you talk about some of the documents, like for example, my passport says transgender as T, and there are several documents that allows you to have that option available, but they are asking for some amount of self-declaration, which is also possible. There is a system which is available. You can write to me and I can explain to you about that detailed system as well.
Okay. Thanks, Abhina, for that. I think the next very important question is, and what you touched upon, is that what can organizations, so when in terms of employment opportunities, how can we generate employment opportunities for the transgender community? What do organizations need to specifically do to make their workplace inclusive?
Sure. So Tweet Foundation, In Harmony, and also Godrej Cultural Lab has established something called as a Trans Manifesto. This Trans Manifesto is a guideline for the corporate sectors for the transgender inclusion. After this call finishes, I'm going to send that document to Anupama, and those who wants, Anupama can also send it to you guys. These guidelines talk about that when you are recruiting a trans person, what are the precautions, not precautions, but what are the facilities that you can provide within your company. What changes that you need to bring in the HR policies, what facilities that you have to bring it, how can you sensitize. So it's like, inviting somebody to your family. So your family has to be sensitized so that that person feels comfortable, right? So the sensitization happened at the bigger level also. And we can support you in that regard. We have been doing a lot of sensitization with the corporate sector. Anupama is engaged with that. We have also got a dance group called as a Dancing Queen. Recently, we did a huge show for a corporate sector where the transgender people performs on the Bollywood numbers. And while they are performing, they come up and they tell their own stories. I think Urmi is also there in the call. So there are a lot of ways to actually create support system within your corporate sector. But the beginning starts from saying to yourself that yes, we want to have trans person. I want to see a trans person in my office. The beginning would saying that is, I want to make a change in my HR policy. Your HR person should be sensitized on those aspects. And they say, "Boon boon se banta sagar." The moment you will start recruiting one person, you will start your companies understanding that the productivity of these individuals is much more higher compared to any other person. You would like to hire more trans people in future. So make an attempt. We have tried to recruit people. Right now that we have recruited people for Bank of America also. So you can always work with your companies, healthcare system, hospitals, everywhere, and try to recruit transgender people within the working setups.
So one question which often comes up, Abhina, with respect to workplace is that should the policies and in the infrastructure like a gender neutral washroom and all those things come in place first and then recruit a transgender person, or should it be, it's like the chicken and the egg thing. So, or should we hire the person first, then get everything in place, or what would you advise?
So when I started working for this organization called as Alliance India 10 years back, right now I'm an associate director in that organization. It took some amount of time to work with HR and the corporate people, people who are making policies over there. But if you have people who are with the right headspace working for the organization, you will create that changes. I don't think so you have to create changes and ask these people to come. I think as an organization you should have a policy that what if we have a trans person, these facilities should be available for everybody. Why can't we have a gender neutral washroom? If we have 10 washrooms, why can't this 2 washrooms could be gender neutral? Why can't we have sex, sexuality, gender as a prerequisite for a person to join when that person is joining? I'm sure you must be sensitizing people and about the company policies that you can't take 2 leaves, you can't do. You also include a session, no, for them, curriculum to go through the sex, sexuality, gender, and you can have more accommodative space. So I'm not saying that is you have to get into a chicken and egg situation. You just but natural say that we are company open for anybody without discrimination of caste, creed, gender, and physical disabilities. We are welcoming everybody and we are prepared for everybody.
That's nice, and I think that's a very encouraging insight for organizations, because moving into policies, making sure the environment is ready can happen very seamlessly, and they could be, like you already said, there could be transgender people already within the organization. So as they see the environment changing, they'll be more encouraged to just be their normal self within that organization. There's another very interesting question which has come, is that what are your thoughts and tips for inclusion of those people who belong to the disabled queer community?
Yes. Even in transgender communities, there are a lot of people who are living with disabilities. Though we are just peeling the one layer at the top of it, but as you go back inside the issues, we have a lot of transgender people who have been thrown out from the trains while they were begging. They don't have hands, they don't have legs, and the severities of their living conditions are extremely in a difficult situation. Unfortunately, we don't have any count of such kind of people within community. We are trying to provide them as much as support, but disability is a major issue. I would not say disability, but a special ability persons, trans person are there in a society. We know them. We are working. We are very much proud of them. We are part. They're part of the entire movement. You can create policies for them at the HR for the organization level and try to provide opportunities, find out opportunities for them to engage within the workspaces, and also invite them to your organizations to just get sensitized about their issues, because the issues of various type of, so not only disabilities, transgender with special abilities, but transgender living with HIV, transgender who are also living with HIV. There are so many transgenders who are living with HIV because they are at the high risk, and their issues of their immune systems and their mental health issues will be much more difficult. So all those things that we have to work around. But I'm saying is that one at a time. I think as you will start working with trans people, you will understand them more and you will be able to understand. As a company, if you are focused on building your human resource, you should be open and out about understanding their special requirements and be able to provide to bring their best productivity out. And believe me, these people will be more loyal to your organization and will be able to contribute much more higher.
Okay. I think there was one question about some trans people which came earlier again, about some trans people who are in Assam, and are they going to face any issues with respect to CAA and RC? Now it's a little political question, so maybe you could address this separately, message them separately and address it. I leave it to you, Abhina.
Yeah. But the fact remains is that I just want to quickly say to you about this, is that it's just not about the trans people. General trans people also, they probably would face a problem because they don't have a documentation. Many of them don't even have a track record of the documentation. They have ran away from their house 40 years, 50 years back. Their families are not. When there are so many times when the transgender person dies and their blood families don't accept their dead bodies also. that kind of hatred that we are dealing with in this particular situation, tracing back their document and all. This is a separate kind of advocacy that one has to do with the government of India to help them understand the precarious conditions. And I think there are a lot of community-based organizations. They can always vouch for these communities whom they are associated for the longest period of time to resolve the issues of CA and NRC.
Okay. There was one question earlier which asked about why do some states have a higher ratio of transgender and people, and why some of them have low? Like, for example, you see, I think in South, in Maharashtra also, you have a lot of transgender people. So
So qualification of the communities is based on the opportunities for earning. As you see that within those, if you look into the states which are highly populated for transgenders, they are more urbanized state that you can say, and there are more opportunities for begging. There are more opportunities for sex work and for their survival. So the congregation of the transgender people is associated with the development of that particular state. If that development happens in the smaller districts, and there are people who are in smaller districts also, but the opportunities for them are less because less people are staying there.
Okay. And I also understand that a lot of transgender people, especially in the South, they seem to be also far more educated. Is that right? Is my understanding right?
Well, states like Kerala has higher literacy rate on the education.
Yeah.
I didn't came out as a trans person for 22 years of my age to a society, because I knew that the moment I will come out as a trans person, I will not be able to get a regular educational opportunities which are available for other people. There are a lot of people who are living in the closet and completed their education. It's not that where is the higher level of education, as in there are other states also who has a higher level of education. I've seen some of the Punjab higher literacy rate among Punjab also. I've seen higher literacy rate among transgender, specifically in Maharashtra also in some of the cases. So it all depends upon how supportive your environments are, how much opportunities that you are getting, and how much conducive your policies are at that point of time, and at what stage you face the violence. If you're protected enough for a longer period of time, like for example, I've been raised by a single mother, but she was standing with me as a rock during the difficult times, and as a result of that, I had a more aspirations to complete my education. And I also thought that is begging would not be my choice. That is not something which I want to do it. Your values also does make a lot of difference for you before you making those choices about completing the education. Within the educational system also, how conducive the environments are also important for you to complete the education and not drop out from the schools. Unfortunately, there are so many people who are educated here, but right now there are so many people who have left the education in between. Right now we are trying to do some sort of a work with them to have more skill building program, like an adult learning courses for transgender people. You are aware about Anupama. We are trying to have English classes for transgender people who want to really. So similar kind of a thing. We are also trying to work around entrepreneurship skills for transgender people. We are also trying to put transgender people into the service delivery system. So can transgender people be at the sales where they could earn money rather than just making candles or something like that? So, giving opportunities and opportunities, bringing entrepreneurship for within the transgender community. So I'm sure all of you must be aware that Lijjat Papad initiative, Amul initiative was started by women in destitute, and then now it has become a big entrepreneurship skill. We are also expecting that is if you encourage trans women, trans men to initiate their own entrepreneurship initiative with the support, in future they will be able to hire more transgender people, and it will become a bigger stuff that you talk about it. So yes, we have to increase the education, because right now we are into a vicious circle of state for transgender people. Since we don't have education, we don't get employment. There are so many companies who calls up and says that why don't you send 2-3 graduate transgender person to my office? I would like to employ them. I would say that it is difficult because they don't reach out to that level. I'm unfortunate, but some of them are not. So you need to really sort of make a special condition for some person to catch up on that. and judge that person based on the skills that you provide to that person for a longer period of time, rather than just the employment certificates, because a lot of them may not have a employment, a lot of them may not have an educational certificate with them.
Okay. Okay. Thanks, Abhinav. Next question here, participant has asked is, how would you define fluidity in sexuality from viewpoints of moral and empathy?
See, sexuality, fluidity in the sexuality. So I would recommend that sexuality is very personal. I don't think so. As an individual, we can make any judgment about. Just like I can't say that is, I can't make judgment about a gender expression. I cannot make a judgment about anybody's sexuality. I don't think so. We can. We should be in a space where we actually judge on a moral level about for sexualities or sexual behaviors. Our entire body is a pleasure zone technically. How do you decide your sexual partner based on your preferences? That does not mean that you will not get a pleasure from any other body of that. So the fact remains is you will not explore that part because that's not your preference. So if a person is there with a different sexuality, or don't judge that perspective only by saying that is, oh, this person belongs to this particular sexuality because that person wants to have that kind of a sexual pleasure. Sexuality is not only associated with sexual pleasure, but it is much more beyond that. It does involve love, it does involve companionship, it does involve aspirations to initiate a family, and it does involve living a life which may not be able to fit into the heteronormative society, but it is still a family. And I think we should not judge it. We should just let it be like that, and celebrate what we have. I just want to say one thing. I remember when I was coming out as a trans person, I remember meeting somebody who's Ashok Rao Kavi, a very well known gay activist, and asking him that I feel I'm unnatural, and he just looked at me and said that, what is unnatural? So I said, unnatural means Vikrut. So he said, what is Vikruti? I said, I don't know. I said, Vikruti evam Prakruti, no? Whatever there in Prakruti is Prakrutik. How do you decide about that कि किसको 6 उंगली मिला है तो वो प्राकृतिक नहीं है करके, किसी को काला कलर मिला है तो प्राकृतिक नहीं है करके. प्रकृति एवं विकृति एवं प्रकृति. We are all part of this mother nature, and we should all celebrate rather than actually discriminating each other on those bases. Yeah.
Thanks, Sabina. That was so beautifully put. There's one question here. How do you manage to handle feeling of shame? I think this is generally for the community people. And what do you tell people suffering from self-hatred?
Yeah, I think
what you just answered, I think, kind of covers it.
Yeah, but I think this is not just about my trans community or queer community. All of us has to look at ourselves and say that you are amazing, and you deserve every moment on this mother nature to live fullest as much as possible. I remember when I was going through depression, the one thing that motivated me is that when my mother and father eventually, whenever they had sexual activity and when I was procreating, there were 16,000 sperms which were trying to get inside that one egg. I managed to get inside, and I have appeared by killing 16,000 people. I should not waste my life. I am already a winner. Why should I be worried about what other people think about me? They can do whatever they want to have. I have better things to do in life.
Wow, Abhinav, that was a super motivating thought. I'm definitely going to remember that. So another question here is, how relevant is queer caste issues in India? Does caste influence the life of queer in India?
Yeah, very much. In fact, there are so many queer groups which are working on caste issues. There is there's a Muslim community, LGBT community. There are a lot of people who are working with on a class issue, specifically on people who've been discriminated because of their religion or their caste or something like that. And there's a huge movement which is going on. The other queer people are also trying to do is that they are trying to mainstream the queer issues with the larger mainstream issues like caste and religion and all those kind of things. So they gather more support to advocate on their queer issues, and I'm sure, like any other society member, this has been also affected by the queer community and LGBTI community with times.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm sure. I'm sure. I think I'm just seeing what other questions are there.
I have some of the questions noted, Anupama.
Sure. Please
Okay.
ask.
So Ramya has asked that when it comes to the corporate sector, which companies are pro hiring transgender or at least don't discriminate on the basis of gender?
So we have worked, I can tell you what I've worked with, and I think that. So I worked with Lalit Group of Hotels, who has hired a lot of trans men. We have managed to hire a lot of trans men and trans women with their support. So I can talk about Lalit Group of Hotels. I can talk about Godrej. They have managed to hire some people in Godrej lab. We are working right now very closely with ISAR Foundation to do this employment related work. So they have been very proactive and supportive. I have had some discussion with Indigo in this regard, but I've not got enough success. But they were quite keen to support trans movement. As I mentioned to you, there are so many other companies in South, like I was giving you example of a girl who is right now working in ThoughtWorks and other companies who are there are organizations like Periphery, Rise, who are right now working for LGBTI employment, and they are also trying to employ trans people. But the problem with trans people is that a lot of the trans people are not enough educated and they are not with their educational certificates. So that is the reason why we are facing, but we are trying our best to employ as many trans people as possible. But there are companies who are coming forward to that. We have worked with JLL also in Delhi. We've done a lot of sensitization with them, and they have hired a couple of people over here. So there are companies which are making, but with help of InHarmony and Anupama, we are trying to reach all of you to create this pathway. Because when I'm doing my regular job, it is very difficult for me to work on these other parallel issues which are much more important. But because Tweet Foundation is per se not funded organization, all our board members who are across the India, who are volunteers, all this work that we are doing is on voluntary basis. Recently we provided almost 3,000 food packets to the transgender people in Delhi and Mumbai with help of InHarmony, SR Foundation, lot of other organizations which are there. So all this work is happening on regular basis, but on voluntary basis. We would still don't have enough funding to work. In fact, we initiated recently the first ever shelter home for trans men, and there are 10 trans men in Delhi which are been provided shelter, who are stuck because of coronavirus. So a lot of work is happening, but our organization is not that big because we don't have resources as in to implement the program.
Yeah. So there's one question which came to me on a private chat, which Madhumita has asked. Many obstacles can make it difficult for people to come out until later in life. Have you thought of making the younger population aware early so that the transition is easy and smooth?
Yes, we are committed to do that. Leadership is a very important part, integral part of the community. I think I took a lot of amount of time because I come from a dinosaur age where we did not have cell phones, and we have to rely on books and other related activities. But right now your entire world is on your smartphone, and we are trying to reach out a lot of social media campaigns to reach out. We are trying to reach to young transgender people and giving them aspirations, that telling them that is being trans is just not about sex work and begging, but it is much more than that. It is about giving aspirations to the other people. It is about giving back things to the community and also the larger society, and being resilient to live in a most precarious conditions and difficult condition, and to say that, listen, I'm here, I'm queer, and I'm gonna live. You can't suppress my life. So there's a lot of young leadership work which is happening right now. Besides that, just like today's session, there are a lot of sessions that we intend to organize, especially for young trans people, to tell about their stories, about how do they feel, what are the challenges that they're facing. The more they talk about themselves, the more they feel aspired. I think the giving platform is extremely important part for a lot of young trans people at this point of time, I feel.
Okay. I have another message in my private chat which asks about how do you proactively engage with the transgender community as an individual or person? They are beautiful souls, but how should the initiation be, which is comfortable and warm? I think before you answer, I think I will only answer that. Because this is a relationship which I have built, and let me tell you that the thought never came that I'm engaging with a transgender person. It was just so seamless.
Anupama, you should talk about your dancing queen story.
Yeah. So I was. We don't have so much time, Abhina. So the next time, I think whenever we do a dancing queens episode, I think I'll share my story about it. Yeah, but it is like just since she was saying, I was a compere for one of their shows, and I spent 3 hours in the green room with the entire lot while they were changing. And let me tell you, the excitement, the makeup, and the discussion, everything was exactly. I mean, there was nothing different. It was just the same thing that any of the. If you have ever been a group dance show and understood what kind of excitement is there, it was just the same. It's just like I think what Abhina was saying, that we all need to take that step. It's no rocket science. There is no difference. Really, we all are really the same.
Anupama, I just want to add one more thing. There is an initiative called as Anam Prem. I think Krupali is not there, but there's an initiative called as Anam Prem, which is a basically Hijra support group. So what we do under Anam Prem for almost like 15-16 years, that the mainstream families adopt transgender people. Adopt means not that like they start staying with them. Adopt means that they make them part of their families. So every year there is something called as a family visit, where a transgender person goes to their family, spend the entire day. They do everything that that person wants to do it. Cook food for that person, give gifts, talk to them about their life stories, and then those entire family goes to the places where the transgender people live. And I think me and Anupama, we are planning to start something like that, about giving a peep into the transgender people life, where you will get an opportunity to meet them in person, help you understand what kind of conditions that they live in, their lifestyles, and probably that will help you to understand them better.
Yeah. So Abhina, another very interesting question. Rohini is asking, Abhina, I wanted to ask you one more question. Do you feel different inside? I think gender or sexuality or my sexual preference does not define me. Then why should it define you?
Yeah, I do feel different. I do feel special, because I think I feel so. The question that you're trying to ask is that why would a trans person feel a different way, if that person is just like any other person. But I feel I feel myself not different, as in, like, for example, I am not a human being and I'm something else, but I feel different at times, because there are so many times that I would a lot of people like me would question their existence in their life. There are a lot of times they would say they would really die for the family, the love that they want to have. There would be a lot of restless nights where you would feel that you are the only one who's living in this society like this, and nobody else is there. As a result of that, the feelings that you develop inside your heart would be much more different, and how you would like to associate yourself as a human would be much more different than any other person, especially in the situations where you have been judged for your appearances, not only just about your expressions. It makes a little bit different situation. I don't know how to explain to you that, but the social upbringing plays a lot of role within that part. While I should feel myself, I'll give an example why I should feel myself to be completely normal. So, like, for example, I travel across 5 minutes, Anupama is saying. So while I should travel, like, for example, not only India, across the abroad, there are so many times when I'm traveling to flight, somebody who's sitting next to me would change the seat. I even if I feel myself normal, I cannot take away that movement from my life, saying that is that person probably is changing the seat because that person is not comfortable to sit besides me in just 2 hours flight. I'm not going to eat that person. I'm not going to make sexual advances. I'm not going to kill that person. But that person is threatened by my existence in this earth. And that would create a lot of back memories which are haunting in difficult times. I will stop, Anupama. I'm sorry, I'm in a non-stop tape.
Abhina, when you're saying that, I'm just imagining how difficult it is, because I know so many international flights you take, and many times I think I kind of envy. I say Abhina travels internationally far more than at least I do, for sure. And it must be like agonizing. And I know some of the experiences you've had even at visa and stuff like that. I've heard about it. I think just one question. So somebody asked about Transbill. We have covered. We've also spoken about training, etc. Just one more question. A person, we just have 2 minutes, Abhina, for this. This person has been asking again and again about elderly trans people, and do they have issues like dementia or any other mental health kind of issues?
Yeah. Lot of issues, especially for trans men and trans women. Because when you are older, especially at my age or later to my age, when you are 55 or 60 or something like that, there could be a difficulties that majority of your issues are associated with your loneliness. As a result of them, a lot of them have acute issues about the substance abuse. They would get into the ganja consumptions, alcohol consumption, and other things. While we are providing a lot of support to transgender people, if you don't have money, even the community members are not willing to support them. So it is extremely important that if you are aging, you must have money with you. If you need support and all those kind of things, and we've been trying to do. We are intending to start a shelter home for transgender people who are above 55 to 60 and who are into a crisis situations. That's a lot of commitment and lot of investment, but that is something that we have it in our hand, especially for transgenders who are older and disabled and they can't move, and they, like my guru was almost 70, 75 and she was paralyzed below her waist, and it was a very difficult situation for her. We were all there to support, but I can imagine the situation for other people. Yeah, a lot of transgender die on the side roads. They don't even get their rightful cremations.
So I think we are right at the end. We've just got a few more minutes left. I think, sorry, we won't be able to take any more questions, but really want to thank all of you who are here at this point for joining this webinar, for being so participative in throughout this session. I hope you found this useful. Our attempt is, like you were saying, what can I do to be more inclusive? Our whole initiative of trans is to demystify the whole perception most of us in the community have about the transgender community, to really befriend and to break these barriers which are being set mostly by our own mental models and the way we have seen life so far. So the next session, we have series, like Abhina was saying, we have planned multiple such webinars. The next one is about, because it's Mother's Day on 10th of May, so the next Friday, same time, yes, we'll have a shorter session, it will be for 1 hour. So we will be talking to a mother of a transgender person and understanding what her journey has been like during, to have a trans child. So thanks again. We will share a feedback form. Do fill up your the form, and also share what are the other topics that you'd like us to cover as we proceed through these series. Thank you so much, Abhina. Thanks, Shirin. Thank you so much.